Some concerning news. Let's take a look. Jacob Phillips, and this one didn't get a lot of publicity. Some injury news on Jacob Phillips right here. You see that, and you see him kind of wincing and grabbing his arm. It is a bicep injury that will certainly keep Phillips out most, if not all, of the season. Again, Jacob Phillips injured yesterday in the joint practices, and had that bicep injury. They say he may be back late, but all of a sudden, Taki leaves practice yesterday with the trainers. Mack Wilson banged up in the preseason game against the Jaguars. So this linebacking core starting to become a concern. Are you getting concerned with it, Mac Robinson?
A little bit, not entirely terribly concerned, mainly because, looking at the way that Joe Woods, and again, Dave, you and I have talked about this countless times, but, Joe Woods, he wants to run that dime package defense where, they're running that one linebacker out there as well as 6 defensive backs. You have the safeties. Hopefully, if Grant Delpit's able to get healthy enough to be on the field, that's another concern for me. But, looking at the linebacking core, I really do think that, maybe they add in a veteran. Maybe they bring somebody in like a KJ Wright, veteran from Seattle who's sitting out there in free agency. Or, you could also go ahead and look at the trade route. Or if somebody gets cut like a Jordan Hicks, he's somebody who I think could be an option for the Browns if they go down that road. I think that he's certainly a cheaper option. He's somebody who can, you can get out pretty easily after this year. But again, you bring in Anthony Walker. He's that green dot, but Jacob Phillips was that backup for you. You also could bring in a BJ Goodson, who was that green dot player for you last year. So I look overall at the way that this team has been built on defense especially. I think that you can kind of sustain a hit, but at the same time, I also think that this pretty much locks in most of those guys in that linebacking room. I think that with Tony Fields dealing with an injury, I think Elijah Lee's going to be that special teamer behind Taki. I think Taki will be fine. But you have Walker as your middle linebacker. They bring in a Willie Harvey. He's somebody who could, get some snaps if he's able to make the roster, or if they have to bring in a veteran. I think that somebody's going to be there behind Walker. And then you have J.O.K. and Mack Wilson as those will linebackers, that weak side backer. So I think that overall, you look at the depth chart for the linebacking room, I think it pretty much gets set in stone at this point. But, yeah, it's a terrible injury for Phillips. He was somebody who had a great end of the year last year, and I was really looking forward to seeing how he would be able to perform. So, him going down, I think it's a loss of that depth for that linebacking room, but it's certainly one that I think that Andrew Berry will be able to manage after this preseason.
Yeah, and I would keep an eye on, the Browns making some trade. They brought in Ronnie Harrison a season ago. There's going to be a surplus. There's going to be really good football players that can't crack this 53-man roster, and you may see a trade of some of the positions of wealth for the Browns to try to get some depth at that linebacking core. Something that we'll keep an eye on, not this weekend, but next weekend after that third preseason game when the Browns have to get to the 53-man roster limit.